analogy, 20 minutes, okay. I'll actually try and do these according to the timings while also explaining it as well. So, for analogy, you have to always look for a change that happens from 1 to 2, and then apply that change to the next one. So, what you can see here is the first change that happens is at the bottom right, it turns grey. So this one's obviously going to change to an opposite colour. So that's why it's going to be C. You can just cross out the rest of them. What you can see changes from here is we lose a quarter of this shape. So we're going to lose a quarter of this shape. This shape has 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. And if we lose a quarter of that, we're going to be only losing one line. So let's look for one that has only 3 lines. 1, 2, 3. There we go. So it should be A. This one, it's just the shapes seem to, the bottom shape comes to the top. So let's do that first. Bottom shape comes to the top, and you're left with B. With these two, the change that happens is, let's say the outside turns grey, so this one's going to turn black instead. It's basically the outside is flipping colours. So let's just look. We can cancel out the grey one, and now let's look for a second change. Right circle goes down, so this is going to go down, and we're left with D. Actually, we're left with D or C. So now let's see, white goes to black, so black is going to go to white. There we go. Question 5. First thing that happens is we lose a line, so let's lose this line, and let's cancel out this and this. There should only be one line. The next thing that happens is the circle goes in, so one of these moons is probably going to go in, and that gives us C instead of A. So let's go on question 6. Let me see how much time we've got. Oh, we've got a lot of time. So first the arrow rotates to the left 90 degrees, so we're going to rotate this. So obviously if you rotate it, it's going to be flat instead of standing up. You can already cancel out D. And what happens is this circle seems to pop up in the bottom right corner. So I'm going to, well, it's not, can't be A, but you're left with B or C. We have to now figure out if there's meant to be 2 circles or just one circle, and where it's meant to actually be. So let's think about this. One circle in the bottom right. That's a confusing one. Nothing else seems to be happening apart from a circle appearing. I would have assumed this one should be down here. What I'm going to say, I'm going to go with C because it is one circle appearing and not 2. There's no reason for it to be 2, because the change that's happening from here to here is 0 circles to 1 circle, so it should be 0 circles to 1 circle. So I'm going to go C. And I'll come back to it, see if I made a mistake, but I can't really do that when I'm doing a walkthrough. So question 7. You got the arrow points to the opposite corner, so at first it's pointing this way, this way. So this one's going to be facing the other way, obviously, so we cancel out these ones. We lose a dot from here to here, so we're going to lose a dot. Let's look for where we can lose a dot. There you go, see, this is the same number. So this one, the back shape seems to rotate, so let's rotate this back shape. It's obviously going to be like this, and we're left with C. This one, it just flips to be facing upwards now. So let's flip this, and we've still got a few options. It also loses the 2 things at the bottom. No, it adds one, so we're going to have one more here. Okay, then we can get A. There we go. So this one, the colours flip. So let's flip the colours on here. It should be grey down here and white up here. What options are we left with? None of these seem to match. Okay, let's look for something else then. That seems to be the only thing that happens. Colours flip. Okay, well, I think it's going to be a different meaning. So it looks like this shape goes to this side, while this shape goes to that side. So it might be like that. So let's do that. There we go. I think we're left with A. Yeah, the only other one it could be is C, but that has a grey inside, which that shouldn't be changing, because there's no change between here to here. Let's go. Okay, question 11. So what we can assume is happening here, if we look at left to right, this is a rectangle, and then we've got a circle. So a rectangle changing to an oval. The diamond, or the grey shape here, seems to change to a rectangle. Or it seems to, I think a better description is this diamond moves to the inside, right? And finally, this square, it seems to come out and go behind, right? And it stretches so it can fill out the missing cap. So there's quite a few things going on here. Step 1, what changed? The rectangle changed to an oval. So it's going to have an oval. It's going to be like one of these options. Step 2 is this grey shape goes to the inside. It should be at the most inside, meaning we should have a grey hexagon, right? So you can see this one, it should be grey. That does leave us with option A, but if we just finish it off, step 3, I believe, was this inside shape, this square. It comes out and it gets stretched, right? And it's behind this grey shape. You can see it's stretched like sort of this way. So if we bring this circle out and stretch it, we'll get an oval, which is exactly correct, meaning our answer here should be option A. Okay, so the line flips to be perpendicular, vertical instead of horizontal, so yeah. It also flips from straight to dashed, so it's going to flip from dashed to straight here. So let's cancel these out. What else happens? This swaps, so these two are going to swap. So it's going to be a box like this, and then a box like that at the top. Let's see which one's got that. This one doesn't have it, so we're left with A and E, and then these two also probably flip. We're left with E because this one hasn't flipped, it's got the same one twice. Okay, so this one just rotates to the right, so let's rotate this. It can't be that, because just imagine this rotated, it's gonna, obviously the top, this is what the top one's gonna look like if you just flip it. You can even turn your head to the left and try and figure that out, right? So it could either be C or E. The bottom one, if we rotate that, it should be E, because that's, again, the wrong way around. So just turn your head to the left and try and think about what this should look like if it's flipped. So from this to this, what happens is the second one turns black. So let's turn this second one from the left, obviously. Let's turn that black. So the square should be black, and that crosses out a lot of the options. That crosses out all of the options. We're left with A. And obviously this is rotating as well. So this rotated as well, like that. Just to explain that, rotated to the right clockwise, and this one rotated clockwise, and then what happened is it's just the square turns black, so this also turns black. But I'm assuming that if you follow through the rest of it, for example, the last one turns white, so this one would turn white, and you can see that's happening there as well. But you can just assume that that's what the change is going to be, especially when you don't have enough time. Okay, so the tick goes to the top right, so I'm going to move the sun to the top right, and you're left with D. For this, I'd say it's facing upside down, so you just flip this, and you're going to flip this. You're left with 3 options. What can it be? So what else changes? So what happens is the grey one goes to the left side, so to the right side. When you flip it around, it should be on the right side, so it should be D. The black rotates, black circles rotate clockwise, or you could say the whole square rotates 90 degrees. So let's rotate the triangle. You're left with A. Yeah, you're just left with A. So this one gets bigger, so let's make the triangle bigger. These ones are upside down, it can't be that. And then you also get a pentagon. You get this shape just turned upside down and turned black. So you're left with C. Most people probably got that. Triangles. You flip the outside one, so let's flip this. You're left with E or B. And then the inside one also flips. So if you think about this flipping, it's not going to be E. So you're left with B. And this one just rotates 90 degrees to the right. So this one's going to rotate 90 degrees to the right. So you get A or D. So let's just cancel out these ones. And you see it turns white, so it's going to be D, not A. So if you, now for this one, outside triangle flips side. So if you flip this, you're going to be left with something like that. And it's going to be smaller. Actually, what I'd say is this the same size? Yeah, I'd say what's happening is the inside triangle is flipping, and then it's removing the line. So let's flip this, and then remove the line, and then just get rid of the outside. So it's going to be the same size as the inside shape, right? And you can see it can't be A, can't be these ones obviously, because they're the wrong way around. And that's why you're left with C. This one just rotates to the right, so let's just rotate this, and just be careful when you're rotating it. I mean, the best way I see it is just turn your head to the left, turn it perpendicular to the paper, and then what you get is this. So you get this corner shaded in, and this corner shaded in, and you can just cancel them out from there. This one's too big, because this one, what happens is it rotates and it also gets smaller, so this one should be smaller. You're left with these two, and then you just have to figure out what this bottom one is meant to look like. So again, rotate your head to the right, and then you figure out that the bottom one is meant to have shaded in the bottom right, and then also shade over here, and then you get the hexagon. It's a very bad hexagon, but you can see that it's A, because this one has got the points the wrong way. It should be like that. Okay, so this, let's first, what happens is this rotates like that to the left. So let's rotate this. It's anti-clockwise, so let's rotate this, and it's going to look like this. There we go. Okay, so it could be B because it has that, C has that, D doesn't, and E has it on the wrong side. Okay, what happens next is you get this little section right here. So you flipped this, you've rotated this, and then you get like a symmetry, and it's the opposite colours. So we just need a symmetry of this. Obviously it can't be B because it's the same colours. We have to figure out if it should be A or C. You can see it's like this, the dividing. So if you just imagine adding the extra section here, you can see the division is down this line, not down this thing. So you can see it should be A. I don't think I'll be able to walk through it in 20 minutes, but I'll still try and get through. Okay. So you rotate it to the right. You're obviously left with a few of these. The black ones, the middle ones, go to the outside, so crosses these out, and then you can see that only the ones that are flipping to the outside, they change colours. So, sorry, not that. It's only the circles that change colours, not the boxes. So if we change the colours of the circle, we get C. Let's flip this. So this seems to point the other direction, so this one's going to point upwards. Now, just look for a tip. So even if it's a bit confusing, look for a tip. This one doesn't have a tip, okay, the rest of them do. And now we just have to figure out the colour change of the circles. So what we see, I see what's happened. So it looks like it doesn't actually change, it's just this rotates to the left 90 degrees, anti-clockwise, sorry. So it's going to be like that, with the circles like this. So it's probably better to look for a tip like this. So you can cancel out these two. Then you also have the vertical one as well that comes in. And then you just need one that has gone from white circle, black circle, like here, to two white circles. So it can't be A because it's still got white circle, black circle. So you're left with C. Question 26. So from left to right, it looks like the shape is just reflected horizontally. So if we reflect this shape, we should have a black section up here, and then we should have the rest of the shape. So it should be black here, white here, and it should sort of be like that, and then with a triangle at the bottom. So that is option D. So this one rotates 90 degrees to the right, so clockwise, so let's do that to this. Cross these out. When you're rotating clockwise, just think of a clock hand and just think about this bit rotating. So you're really just looking at this section and then just rotate it and turn it around. And you see that's way too far. You're left pretty much just with D. Again, rotate this all the way to that. So we're going to rotate this the same direction, because it's a whole clock, right? And that means the point is going to be here. So you cancel these out. What else changes? What you can see is when you rotate it, the circle isn't in this corner anymore, it's actually flipped to this side. So we can just do that to this one. The circle should be in the top right corner, but it I mean, like, it would have been, but not in the change. So you see, because this is in the top right corner, that means it's wrong. It should actually be moving to the opposite corner, like in A. And so we rotate this to the right. First of all, actually, it also gets smaller. You can see. So and there's nothing we can do with that. Okay, so we rotate, and then this side goes back. But let's rotate it first to the right. So obviously the tip is going to be facing that way. So Bosch. Okay. Now we have to figure out what it's actually going to look like. Turn your head to the left and you can see what it should look like. Actually, maybe I can rotate. No, I can't rotate the page. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to explain this one really. Let's look at the patterns first. So the black goes to white. So this one, the bottom is going to have black. That leaves out C. So you're left with D and A because they have a black one of this, right? This part is black. And now you have to figure out which one is actually a proper rotation. I wish I could. There should be a way to rotate this. Maybe if I just do this. Nope, that doesn't do it. Oh, it might have. It might do it on the video. Okay. So you can see that it's meant to be going inwards to the page, sort of the bottom bit. I mean, yeah, I don't know, it's hard to explain that, but this is like sort of flat on this plane. So it's like that. Whereas this one is like that. Oh, there we go, actually, we can see this. There you go. See, if you look at the bottom, it's like this. So then if you just rotate that, it means it's going to be like that. So just think about a straight line and then you rotate that instead of looking at the whole thing. Because this one, the line is like this. Obviously if you rotate this all the way around, it's not going to be that direction. Because that's the same as how it was before, right? Okay, question 30. Nothing changes if these ones move down, so let's move this and move this, and you're left with B. Oh, also, actually, yeah, C, because the outside goes dark. Okay, this square gets removed, so let's remove the thing, the outside. Okay, that's happened. And this turns into 3, so let's turn this into 3. All of these are 3. Okay, and one of them stays the same orientation as it, so look for one. Okay, they all have that. They take the pattern of the square, and so this one should take the pattern of the shape behind it. So it should be this pattern. And now let's draw out these ones. So A is like this, so it can't be A. B is like this. C is like this. D is like this, and E is all over the place. So let's not go for any of those. So now we have to choose between B, C. these two are facing away. Yeah, so basically I think we're just going to look at the rotation. So if you look at, this is pointing this way, then it's pointing that way. So you got a 90-degree rotation here, from this one to this one. And then you've got like a 45-degree. So if we just do that to here. 90 degrees here, and 45 degrees here. So I'd go with this. Because that's a 180-degree rotation from there to there. Okay. The plus goes black, so let's turn this black. Okay, they all have it. The line switches to vertical instead of horizontal. So this one's going to switch from vertical to horizontal. You're left with a few options now. Should also not have a pentagon in it. And what you can see is there's this dashed thing that comes up, so it can't be D because it has to have a dashed thing. Okay, square. So it loses one side to become a triangle, so this one's going to go from a hexagon to a pentagon. The circles switch colours, so the circle should be black. It goes from white to being shaded like this, so we have to look for one that's shaded like this, and E is shaded the wrong way, shaded like that. So you're left with D. Okay, so the plus goes to the top, square goes to the top then. The plus also changes to white, so square has to be white. This goes to the bottom and also flips direction. So these all have it at the bottom, so the arrow should go to the bottom and it should flip direction like that, so it can't be C. And the shading, it should take on the shading of the bottom shape. So the shading of the bottom shape in this one is this diamond. Yeah, it's going to be shaded like this, not straight, so it's not D, it's B. Okay. I think this is just rotated. Oh no, I think what it looks like is it's just made, there's another one, so it's duplicated and then flipped like that, right? That's just two triangles, so this one is going to just be duplicated and flipped like this. Bosh. But obviously it's also going to be overlapping a bit, so it won't actually be, because these ones are overlapping. So let's see. Can't be B, can't be A, can't be E. Yeah, we'll have to see. I don't know what these crosses are, so that's the main reason why I cancelled them out. Okay, so the big shape gets rotated 180 degrees. So let's rotate this 180 degrees. It should be facing the right instead of facing the left. Like this, facing left. Yep, okay. This big shape is then made smaller and put to the top right. So this shape should be made smaller and put to the top right. And it should be white, so it shouldn't be D. because it's like this. This should be at the top right, like you can see with here. This shape is right here. Move on to 37. After this, I'm actually going to check which questions most people got wrong, because we didn't get very good scores on the NVR. So they switched places. So, it's kind of confusing. Okay, and let's say they don't switch places. It just seems to be a reflection down the center. So it's interesting because it's an analogy question, but they ask about reflection. So you're just going to reflect this down the middle. And when you reflect it, just draw from point to point. So there you go. So this is going to be like this. And then this can be like that. So that. And so that. And that. And then that. There you go. And you can see a say from that. Oh. Never mind, you can see actually that this also gets smaller. So it shouldn't be the same size, it should actually be smaller. It should be. Okay. So this moves to the bottom. Top left moves to the bottom. Oops, I've done that to the wrong one. Hexagon moves to the bottom. So let's look for one. Okay, all of them have hexagon at the bottom. It also becomes dashed, so let's look for one where the hexagon is dashed. Okay, so you can't be D and E because these aren't dashed. Black circle stays in the same position, so this one's going to stay in the same position. They all have that. This also stays in the same position. The triangle moves to the top and gets dashed, so this one should move to the top and get dashed. This isn't dashed. Now we're just left with whether the triangle should rotate or not. No, the hexagon hasn't rotated, so let's do B. Talking about this triangle, right? So what we're doing is just we're looking at what happens from here. No, sorry. We're looking at what happens from top right on here to the top right on here. And then you do the same thing to the top right on here. And you can see nothing changed. So you don't change anything. And from that you can cancel out C. And you just do that with every section on the grid, basically. And even if it's not a grid question, do that with every section of the shape is what I've been doing, basically. So you can see I first take on one part of the shape, so let's say the circle. See what changes from here to here about the circle. Looks like the circle moves to the bottom like that. So this circle on the actual test shape is probably going to move to the opposite end as well, so it's probably going to be up here. So you can already cancel out D, and what you can see is the circle also changed colour to black, seeing like to the colour of this, right? So the circle is going to change to this shading, so it can't be white. And it can't be E, so we're left with C or A. And you see the outside of the box goes to the inside, so let's do that. The outside shading of the box goes to the inside, so this is meant to be dashed. And the outside should be a straight line, and so it can't be C, and you're left with A. Final question. Ran 10 minutes over, but that's fine. Flip to the right. So you rotate to the right. So let's rotate this to the right first, the whole shape. Cancels a few of them out already. And once you rotate it, it looks like they swap positions. So the triangle goes to the end, and the circle goes to that end. So if we're going to swap positions here, the diamond goes here and the triangle should go there. So diamond should be on the shortest stick. Cancel out D. Now let's look at what happens to the dashed. So the middle one was dashed first, and now everything else is dashed apart from the middle one. So that's going to be the same thing here, where this dashed line is probably going to turn straight, and these two straight lines are going to turn dashed. So E, because this one shouldn't be dashed. Okay, that is NVR. And 34 minutes in. I'm just going to check. Look for the lowest. Okay, so it looks like question 40, the one that we just went through, a lot of people got wrong. Most people put C for some reason. Alright, let's see. A lot of people put C and B. Let's try and figure this out. C. So people just didn't rotate this, because you can see the whole shape has changed. It's been rotated. I'm assuming most people just maybe ran out of time and just guessed that one. So it doesn't really make sense as to why you choose one that has the same, it's facing the same direction. Hopefully, if you got that wrong, you understand it now anyway. Question 29. Yeah, that's probably the one where... Oh, why can't I rub this out? It's probably... I'm assuming most people chose D. Let me see what they... Yeah, it's 20% of you chose D, and then 20% of you chose C. So I mean, if you chose C, what you did wrong was you didn't flip the shading. So obviously, you look to the rotation, but you have to look at the shading next. So look at the fact that this one, the black on this side flips to the white on this side, right? So this side should be black next, and this side should be white, and then rotate it, and you're going to get a black bit at the bottom. So you can cancel out C from that, and then you should just be left with D or C. D or A, sorry. And you just have to figure out the rotation thing like I was talking about, where the bottom line here is like this. So if you rotate that, sorry, it will be like this. So there you go, the bottom line there, and this one is the wrong way. Question 6 was another one a lot of people got wrong, which means you probably didn't run out of time on this one, you just made a mistake. To the left. A lot of people chose A. So I think they just missed the fact that it has a... Oops. They missed the fact that it has a circle come into the play. Wait, hold on, am I looking at the right... Oh, I was looking at maths. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Let's look at NVR. Year 5. To NVR. There we go. Okay, let me see this. So, yeah, it was still question 40. Okay, people chose E, I think. No, most people chose blank, and then most people chose D. Alright, okay. Okay, so let's just do this section a bit again, going through the wrong questions. Yeah, I can see most of these are the later questions, because I think a lot of people left them blank. But yeah, so D was the most popular answer, because they didn't realise that the shapes flip. So that's just a mistake in logic. Basically, rotate it, and then you should immediately notice that if you rotated it, the triangle should be here. So your next step should be looking at that rule. Obviously, rotate it first, and then cancel the ones out. So you cancel out these two, and then just look at, oh, okay, what's happened now? So the triangle has gone to this side, and the circle has gone to this side. So it's going to be the same thing when you rotate this. It's going to switch sides, and then you can cancel out D, and you should be making that mistake. So just be a bit careful there. See, did people choose B? Yeah, a lot of people chose B as well, which is again, it's just figuring out there's another rule there to explore. So, I'm assuming if you chose B or D, it's unlikely that you cancelled out E. You probably just decided you didn't have enough time and you wanted to guess it or something like that. So, I mean, with all of these questions, you should be absolutely certain, because you have the ability to know it all right. Question 30 is the same thing. It's because there's lots of moving parts here. Always take it one step at a time. Blank was the most popular answer. C was the most popular answer after that, compared to the right answer, which was A. Yeah. So I mean, even let's say if you're left with A and C as the last two options, I think you can look at the difference between them. You can notice that the outside is dashed, while this one is lined. So then just from that, try and figure out if it should be dashed or lined. So go back to the original shape. Look what happens to the outside. It switches from dashed to lined. And then this one is still dashed, so it's probably going to switch to lined. A straight line, so it's probably not going to stay dashed. So you're left with A. Question 23. That's the next one that most people got wrong. Okay, this one's a bit confusing. I'm assuming most people chose something like C. Let's see. E was the most popular answer. Okay. A lot of people chose E. I think the problem there is you've just assumed that this goes to the left when it doesn't. I think most people just made this go to the left. Don't really think in terms of left and rights, just think of rotations whenever you're doing NVOs. So this is rotating anti-clockwise, so this is going to rotate anti-clockwise 90 degrees obviously, which means it should be on this side. It can't be on the wrong side, so E is most definitely wrong. And once you've done that, you're actually left with only A, once you've rotated this anti-clockwise. And B obviously as well, but B isn't right. Okay, question 30, the next one. Most people chose B or blank. Why would you choose B? Oh. B, there's multiple things wrong with B. The main thing is you should look at first, I mean, with a grid, always look at what's changing at one shape at a time. So, I mean, the square moves from middle top to the bottom top. So if the triangle is just going to move to the bottom middle, sorry, not bottom top. Okay, so bottom middle. Okay. Oh, no, okay, yeah, so most people have done that. They just finished there and didn't look at the rest of the options. When you look at the rest of the options, you can see that these two are the exact same, apart from the outside line. So when you're left with those two, and there's only one difference between them, try and figure out which one is actually meant to be right. So you look at this one, goes thicker, so this is going to go thicker. So it should be C. Question 37. Most people chose blank and A. Yeah, it's the same mistake that I was making as well. So you should turn smaller. So, I mean, with these ones, if you're making a mistake like this where you're getting all the rules but then forgetting just one rule, it's unfortunate because you're wasting probably 30 seconds to a minute on figuring out all of these rules just to get 0 marks again. So always make sure you finish all the way to the end. Especially look at all the options. If you've cancelled some of them out and you're left with 2 options that look pretty similar, don't just choose the one that you think is right. Only choose one once you've cancelled out every other option. Probably going to leave it at that for NVR. Alright, maths question, I believe 1. Maths question 1. 30 minutes for this. So, how do we add decimals? Well, adding and subtracting is exactly the same as normal. The only thing we have to do here when we're adding is we line up the decimal points. You can see that, and if there's any gaps here, like you can see the gap right here, you backfill it with zeros. Okay, now you can do addition as normal. 3 plus 0 is 0. This should give us 13, carry the 1, and that should give us 10, carry the 1, and that's 2. So you bring the decimal point down, you got 20.3, sorry, I made a mistake there. 3 plus 0 is 3. I'm not sure why I made that. But there we go, 20.33, which is option B. Okay. Exactly the same thing for question 2. If you do 6.2 minus 1.77, backfill it with zeros, and what you can do here is 0 is too small for 7, so you have to borrow. So that turns to 1, this turns to 10. Okay, we borrowed the 1. 10 minus 7 is 3. Now we've got 1 minus 7 here. 1 minus 7 doesn't work, so we have to borrow again. So this turns into 5. This is now 11. We took the 1 from the 6, we turned it into 11. 11 minus 7 is 4, so that's what we've got. Again, bring the decimal point down, and then 5 minus 1 is 4. So answer here is 4.43, option B. How do we multiply 0.3 by 0.2? Again, you can use long multiplication. With this one, it's a bit different from additions. You have to count how many numbers are behind decimal points. We've got 1 and 2, so we've got 2 numbers behind decimal points right here. So what we can do now, keep that in mind and just multiply as normal. So 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times 0 is 0, and if we move down, we add a placement 0, and then we finish it off. So 0 times 3, and 0 times 0. Now we got 0, 0, 6. So we have this number, we know that 2 numbers are behind the decimal point. So with our answer, we have to go 1, 2, and place 2 numbers behind the decimal point. And there we go, 0.006 is our answer, which is option A. Alright, question 4. This will be the exact same. So if I rub this out and do the same method now, 0.8 times 1.2, there's 2 numbers behind the decimal point. 2 times 8 is 16. 2 times 0 is 0, but you add the 1. And then you put placement 0, 1 times 8 is 8, and that one gives us 0. Now if we add these all together, we've got 2 numbers behind the decimal point, so we put the decimal point here, and our answer should be 0.96, which is option C. Okay, question 5, how do we divide now? So, dividing is a bit more difficult. Easiest way to do this is make these into whole numbers. Right, so what I've done there is I just times them both by 100, right? So now it's 518 into 700. I believe I did that wrong. This should go to the left hand side, and this should be in here for the bus stop method. Now we can do the bus stop method, right? So if you remember the bus stop method, whenever you have a number that is too big and it doesn't go into this, you have to start off with a 0 point. And what we can do with that is we can add a 0 to this, and now we can ask how many times does 7 go into here. The reason we can do that is whenever you add a decimal point like that, you can add as many zeros as you want to the bus stop. Okay, so how many times does 700 go into 5180? So 7 times 700 will be 4,900, and if we subtract that, we should get 280 here. And again, what we can do, because we've got the decimal point, we can add another 0, right? And we can do how many times is 700 going to 2,800. And I believe if you do that, if you think about how many times does 7 go into 28, it's 3 times. So how many times will it go into 700 going to 2,800? It'll be 3 times as well. And that will give us 2,800 here. Then we can minus that. And there we go, there's our answer, 0.73. Sorry, I made a mistake there. 0.74. 700 goes into 2,800 4 times. My mistake. And that will be option D right there. Question 6. Same process. So I'm going to make it into 1644, and that means we have to times this by 100 as well. So it'll should actually be 30. 0.3 times 100 will be 30. So this is our thing here, right? So 30 into 1644, this should be, you should be able to work this out now. If we times this by, I think 5, actually, let's go 5. I give us 150. This will be 14 left over, and we bring the 4 down, and 30 will go into that 4 times, gives us 120, and left over here is 24. And now we have to put a decimal point because 30 doesn't go into 24. So now that we put a decimal point, we can add a 0 over here, and 30 goes into 24 8 times. 240, sorry. So our answer here is 54.8, which is option D. Okay, let's move on to question 7. Write the following numbers in order of size. So starting with the smallest number, you want to look at this from digit by digit. So this is the ones placeholder, this is the tenths, or the 0.1s, and this is the hundredths. So compare them all. They've all got 0 at the start, so that's fine. Compare the second place. This is 0, this is 2, 8, 2, 6. This is going to be the smallest because it's 0. So it can only be option C or D. What it should be next, it should be 2, so it shouldn't be either of these. And if you compare the third place, this has actually got a 0 here. So this one, place 3, right here, is smaller than place 3 on this number. So 0.2 is smaller than 0.25, meaning this is going to be the right option, because 0.2 is behind it. Option C. Okay, question 8. So you have to put the inequality sign. So this means the left side is bigger. This means the right side is bigger. Which side is bigger? Well, again, look at the place values. 6 and 7. Which one is bigger? 7 is bigger. For 9, this one, 4 is bigger than 1. If we compare these ones, 1 is bigger than 0.
Okay, question 11. Again, for these ones, remember it says A, mark A for these ones, and mark B for these ones, right? Okay, question 11, 4 over 5 as a decimal. So when you want to change a fraction to a decimal, make it over 100, and then you should be able to figure it out. So how do we make an equivalent fraction where 4 over 5, we change it to be over 100? All we have to do is figure out how many times does 5 go into 100. We have to times it by 20. So we times the top by 20 as well. So 4 times 20, that is 80. So our answer here is 80 over 100. Now that's obviously not a decimal, but anything over 100 is just 0. That. So it would be 0.80 or 0.8. So option A. Question 12, 0.08 as a fraction. Okay, so any number is always over 1, so this is actually the fraction. Now that's not one of our options, so what we can do is we can simplify it. Let's times the top by 100, that'll give us 8, times the bottom by 100, that'll give us 100. 8 over 100 now is a much better looking fraction. If we simplify that, divide the top and the bottom by 4, we'll get 2 over 25, which is option A. Okay, question 13, divide 10 by 17. So when you divide something, imagine there's a decimal point. There's always a decimal point and zeros behind every number. If you divide by 10, you just have to move the decimal point one place to the left, so it should be 1.7. Now with this one, 100, you're timesing, so you move to the right. So you're going to move 1, 2 to the right, and you backfill with 0. So that is 4910.0. That's option D. Question 15. If you times by 1,000, you can see there's 3 zeros here. So we move 3 places to the right. 1, 2, 3. So there's 2 zeros that we have to add here. 49100. That's option B. Question 16. Write down the multiples of 7. So from this list of numbers, so these ones, this is not a multiple of 7 and neither is 9. So be option A. Question 17, write down the multiples of 12. Again, 7 is not a multiple, neither is 21, so it's going to be this option. Write down the factors of 26. Okay, 2 and 13 are, 1 and 26 are. So this is going to be all the... Okay, question 19. Again, using the list above, we have to write down all the prime numbers between 10 and 20. If we look at this, 1, 2, there's only 13 is the prime number between 10 and 20. So option D is the correct answer. Alright, question 20. So use this box for question 20. It says, from the box above, choose 2 numbers that have a common factor of 10. Okay, so 100 and 40 both have a common factor of 10. Option C. Question 21. From the list of numbers, write down the square numbers. So 16 and 25, these are both square numbers. Seems to be the only ones. Option A. Express 36 as a product of its prime factors now. So if you remember how to do prime factors, you have to do a prime factor tree. So you do how many times does it, you got 2 as one of the factors, and it would be 18, 2 and 18. And then if you split that again, you got 2 again and 9. And if you do that again, that would be 3 and 3. So you're finding the factors of each of these numbers. So now you've got 2, 2, 3, 3, which is option A. 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 is our product of its prime factors. Now we are moving on to question 23. Find the lowest common multiple of 4 and 10. So this is quite easy. If you just do the 4 times table up to 20 and the 10 times table, you can see here is our lowest common multiple, which is option C. Okay, from the list of numbers, write down the cube numbers now for question 24. So 3 is not a cube number, neither is 8. Actually, 8 is a cube number. So 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, okay? 41 is not a cube number. Question 25. Again, more cube numbers, so 64 is a cube number. It will be 4 times 4 times 4. So option A again. Question 26 now. David drives 4.8 miles to Bristol and a further 6.7 miles to Bath. Work out how far he drives in total. So for this, you just have to add 4.8 to 6.7, and that should give you 11.5. Question 27. Calculate the bottle of cola costs £1.29. Calculate the total cost of 6 bottles. So what you have to do here is times it by 6. And remember, you have to keep in mind that there are 2 numbers behind the decimal point. So once you're done multiplying, you should get this answer, 774, and then put your number, 2 decimal points, 7.74, right, 1, 2. So your answer here should be question 27. Should be option D. Question 28. Paul buys a book which is £6.89 with a £10 note. How much change does he get? So you can subtract this. Again, when you're subtracting, you have to line up the decimal points. I like to subtract when I'm using money. I just like to count up from 6.89 until I get to 10. So if you follow me along with that, if I add 1p to it, that will get us to £6.90. If I add 10p to that, that'll get us to £7. And if I add £3 to that, that will get us to 10p. And if you just add these all together, we've got £3.11, which is the difference, right? Okay, question 29. Mrs. Webb has a roll of ribbon that is 44.1 meters long. She needs strips of ribbon that are 2.5 meters long. How many 2.5 meter long strips will she need? So if you think about this, 44.1 meters is how much she's got, and she needs 2.5. So it's how many times is 2.5 go into 44.1? That will tell us how many strips you can make. So you can do it like this, or you can do it like I explained earlier, which is where you times both of them by a number. So I'm going to times them both by 10. Now it's much easier because they're both whole numbers. So how many times does 25 go into 44? It'll be once. If you subtract this, it should give you 19. And if you bring the 1 down, you got 191. How many times does 25 go into that? It will be, I believe, 7. It goes 175. If we subtract that, we should get a remainder, which is around, I believe, 16. Now that remainder, there's nothing we can do about it. We won't be able to use ribbons. But what we've got here is 17 ribbons, piece of ribbon that 2.5 meters long. And there's going to be a bit of a remainder that we can't use. So our option here, how many can she make, is going to be 17, which is A. Okay, question 30. Work out 0.7 squared. Again, squared just means 0.7 times itself. So if you just multiply it, keep in mind that there's 2 numbers behind the decimal point. You should get 9, and then you should get 49. And then you should get a bunch of zeros here. So if you get 0.49, should be 0.49, because you've got 2 numbers behind the decimal point. Question 31. 5 boys take part in a long jump competition. The distances jumped were these ones. Place them in order, starting with this shortest. So if you look at this, which one's the shortest? Well, it's the ones with 0. So if you compare these and you compare their next number, 8 is smaller than 9. So this is actually the smallest. So it should be 4.08 that starts, and then 4.09 after that, then 4.1, and then that, right? Option D. Okay, question 32. From the numbers above, write down a square number. Okay, so three times 3 is a square number, which is 9. So these are. Write down a multiple of 6. 12 is in the 6 times table. Write down 3 prime numbers. So set 12 is not a prime number here. Neither is 8. Neither is 10. So option D is going to be our answer, 7, 11, and 13. Question 35. Write down 2 factors of 24. So what we have is 8 and 12. These are both factors. 8 times 3, and 12 times 2. 36. Write down a number which is both 4 and 3 times table. So 12 is in both times tables if you count them out. From the list of numbers, for question 37, write down the cube numbers. So a cube number is any number where, again, is a cube of something. So something like this, 3 times 3 times 3. Okay, so with this one, this one is 4 times 4 times 4 is equal to 64. And with this one, 2 times 2 times 2 is equal to 8. So option C. These are the 2 cube numbers. Question 38. A toad croaks every 8 seconds. A frog croaks every 6 seconds. They both croak at the same time. When's the next time they'll croak? So if you think about what we're doing here is we're counting. If you count 6, 12, this is just a 6 times table, right? 6, 12, 18, 24, 36, right? This is 6 seconds, 12 seconds. You can see it's just a 6 times table. For toad is going to be croaking on the 8 times table, or every 8 seconds, and then the next one's going to be after 16 seconds, and it's going to be 24 seconds. You can see the lowest common multiple, or when they both croak at the same time, is 24 seconds. So it'll be option A. Question 39. Dylan buys 17 carrots and 6 turnips. Carrots cost 8p each, and turnips cost 13p each. So, how much did he spend in total? If you do 17 carrots times 8, and then you do 13 times 6. So if you do those multiplications, this one should give you 136p, and this one should give you 78p. Now if you add those two together now, you'll get 214p. In other words, £2.14. Question 40, our final question here. Zane buys 16 red peppers. He receives this much in change from a £20 note. Was the price of a red pepper? So, this is how much he received in change, that means he spent the rest of it. So what we have to do again is we have to subtract. So if you want to subtract like this, you have to line up the decimal points, so backfill with zeros. This one is £8.32. If you subtract these, you can do borrowing. So this is actually going to take quite long because you have to borrow from here, 1, and then this turns into 10, and you borrow that, and this turns into 10, you borrow that, and this turns into 10. So now we've got 10 minus 2, which is 8. I need to rub this out. Let me make this smaller. So then you got 9 minus 3, which is 6. And you've got 9 minus 1, which is 1, and this one, 1 minus 0 is 1. So that's how much he spent, right? £11.68. Now it says, how was the price of a pepper? So if he bought 16 peppers for £11.68, what you have to do is divide £11.68 by 16, because each pepper is obviously going to be a bit of that, a section of that. So you do it like this, and again, because 16 doesn't go into £11.68, you have to start with a 0 point. And what we can do here, let's do it like we did before. Sorry. Let's just make these into whole numbers first. So 11,608, and then we'll make this 1600, right? Again, it doesn't go into it, so you have to do 0 point, and you add a 0 here. And now you can ask, how many times is this 1600 number, how many times does it go into 11,680? Turns out, if you times 1600 by 7, you get 11,200. And again, you can work this out just by counting up from 1600, right? So if you do that, and you minus these now, what you should have here is 480 as your remainder. Again, because we got a decimal point up here, we can add a 0. And then again, you have to ask, how many times is 1600 go into 4800? And it's 3 times. Okay, so that's our remainder, that's 0. And there we go, 0.73 pounds is how much it costs, or 73p, which is option C. Alright, that's the end of the math section. Okay, moving on to the English section now. We're on comprehension 1, which is GPS. So this passage seems to be talking about navigation methods and using different, how we used to navigate, and also in these 2 paragraphs it's talking about how it's important to still have this skill of being able to navigate and not relying on these new things like GPS technology, right? So if we get into the questions here, according to the passage, people can use maps to learn which of the following. So it says distances, directions, or locations. Now it says according to the passage, this means you have to go back and look at the passage, and you can see here, using maps, people can learn distances, directions, and locations. So that's all 3 of the things mentioned here, which is option D. Question 2, as used in paragraph 1, the word superseding most nearly means what? So you see right here, it says a new kind of map is rapidly superseding them. So what does it mean when it says them? Well, it's talking about traditional maps. If you look at the context, it says traditional maps have served them well, but new kinds of maps are superseding them. So if you think about what a new kind of map actually might be doing, for example, like what is a GPS actually doing to these traditional maps? It's sort of making them obsolete or making them useless because everyone is using these now, right? Or it's advancing on them in a different way. So let's see what we've got here. Replacing seems to be the best option here, because these maps, these GPS ones, are replacing this. They're not renewing it or changing. Defeating is an interesting one, I think. I think it's close and it could be used there, but replacing seems to be the best synonym here. And if you put replacing right here, it would work a lot better than putting the word defeating. Okay, question 3. In paragraph 2, the author writes, to better understand how it works, imagine that Travis is lost. The purpose of this sentence is to do what? So if you look at paragraph 2, where have we got it here? To better understand how it works, we have to look at what is it talking about when it says it. Well, it's talking about the GPS using satellite technology. So it's trying to explain how GPS uses satellite technology, and it's giving an example here where you imagine Travis is lost and explains how it would work. So what is it doing here? It's introducing an example, option A. Okay, question 4. The author apparently believes that becoming too dependent on technology is what? So if we look up here in the passage again, this is a dangerous way of thinking, saying that reading traditional maps should not be taught anymore. It's like saying people can type on keyboards, so no one needs to learn to write with a pen. So he thinks it's a dangerous way of thinking. He thinks when people become lazy or too dependent on technology, they don't think and they don't solve problems for themselves. And obviously that can be an issue, because what happens if they stop working? So crazy and idiotic, I'm not sure about that. He doesn't mention anything directly about that. If we look at frightening and unwise, I think that's a bit closer. You've got the option of silly and careless, and you've also got the option of lazy and foolish. Now, lazy is directly mentioned in the passage, so if you look at, again, back up there, it says people become lazy if you do that. So I think option D is going to be the best option here. Okay, question 5. Based on its use in the final paragraph, it can be understood that that device belongs to which of the following words groups. So we cannot simply trust a device. So what he's talking here is the thing that is doing the GPS navigation, whether that's your phone or like a TomTom. So if we look here, what is device? So it's a machine. No, not a machine or a vehicle. That's close. Gadget, tool, and instrument seems to be closer. If you think about a device, it's something that you use to do something, like a gadget or a tool. Okay, question 6. The author apparently believes that learning to read paper maps is what should be still taught in school, will be useful in the future, is more important than learning to type, is less important than learning how to use a GPS. Okay, it's not mentioned that it's more important than learning to type, or that it's less important. He doesn't say he thinks it will be useless in the future either. He thinks it should still be taught in school. You say right here. He argues that if someone says that it shouldn't be taught anymore, then it's dangerous, right? So he obviously thinks it should be taught. Okay, comprehension 2 now. Okay, so I've highlighted some key points here. Again, this is a passage about pets now, and it's basically making like a satirical point. So that means it's sort of making a joke. It's saying maybe cockroaches are better pets than dogs, right? So if you look at question 7, this passage would most likely be found in which of the following? So this starts off by talking about how this author has owned many different pets, right? And then there's an article that they read, which is talking about dogs being the best pets. And what they say is then your article has ignored a less popular pet, which is cockroaches. And he says, I have around 400 of these in my own house, and that's an estimate. Right, so you got right here. And he gives lots of reasons as to why you might want cockroaches over. So again, it's a bit of like a joke. He says they're completely free, you don't have to pay for food and toys and stuff like that. And they don't jump on visitors. They just stay away. And you don't have to pay any money to like feed them and stuff like that. So where would this actually be found? Definitely wouldn't be found in a brochure at a vet's office about how to choose a pet, because it's satirical. It's like a joke, right? An encyclopedia article about cockroaches? I don't think so. Again, because it's not really giving any facts about cockroaches. Now, exotic pet owner's life story. This isn't particularly life story. It's just talking about pets, so that wouldn't be an option here. Now, it says a letter to the editor section of a newspaper. Now, why is it this option? Is because if you look at this is someone who is responding to an article. So they read this article, and he's responding to whoever wrote this article. So what's probably happening here is there's a newspaper where you've got a section where you're allowed to respond to the article and send it a letter, and this is probably what's happened. And so it's in the letters to editor section, option A. Okay, question 8. In paragraph 1, the author most likely identifies him or himself as a long-time pet owner who has had many different types of pets. In order to do what? So he does this to right here. And what he's doing is he's building social proof. So this means that he's reinforcing his argument because he's owned all of these different pets. That makes him a good source of authority to tell you what pet is the best. And that basically helps him prove his point. So it's not to inform readers or that. It's to convince readers that exotic animals like lizards are more important than... no. Again, right here, option D. Establish that they're an authority or an expert in the subject of pets. So these are tough questions sometimes, because you really have to think about think about the reason as to why someone wrote this. So you think about why would you mention that you've had all of these different pets when you're talking about, or when you're trying to convince someone that cockroaches are the best pet. Well, you're doing it because saying that you've had all of these different pets, it shows your experience. It shows that you've owned all of these different pets and you figured out the best one, which is cockroaches. So exactly, it's establishing you as an authority, right? Okay, question 9. The author apparently believes that cockroaches make the best pets. However, in paragraph 1, the author states that dogs are playful, loyal and smart, and then admits that dogs have been an extremely popular choice for pet owners for decades. The author most likely makes a statement in order to do what? So, show that he or she has considered other points of view. Answer the question of why dog owners have so few dogs each. Show that dogs are ultimately better pets than cockroaches. Okay, so he's definitely not trying to say that, because that's the opposite of the entire passage, and he's not answering the question as to why dogs have few owners. What he's really doing here is showing that he understands the different points of view, and that of course dogs have different benefits, and they've been very popular, which is option A. Okay, question 10. As used in paragraph 2, which is the best synonym for estimate? So you can always look in the paragraph for the context. So right here, estimate doesn't actually know if there's 400 cockroaches. This is an estimate, so that means it's a best guess. Okay, option B. Question 11. The author argues that cockroaches are better than dogs for all of the following reasons, except what? So it doesn't actually mention anywhere in the passage that cockroaches don't bark. It does mention that they don't jump on people, and that they don't have to be taken to the vet, and that dogs have to be taken on walks while cockroaches don't. These are all mentioned in the passage. Option C is not. Okay, question 12. In paragraph 4, the author writes, try feeding cardboard box to a dog. The author most likely includes the sentence in order to he's not giving a suggestion. He's being satirical here again. He's making a joke and saying that dogs won't eat cardboard, right? Illustrate how much cheaper it is to feed a cockroach than it is to feed a dog. That's exactly what he's doing here. If you look at option C, make fun of dog owners for poor decision. Again, not really, and provide an example of someone who does not. Again, not quite. So if you look at the context here, Where does it say this? There we go. So he's saying they are happy to eat crumbs, garbage, or even cardboard boxes. He's proving the fact that they don't need any special food. You don't have to buy anything. You can just give them whatever you want. And it's so much easier and cheaper. And he's saying dogs won't. You can't do the same thing with them. Okay. Question 13. The author's main purpose in writing this passage is to criticize the newspaper for publishing the article. Well, it's not very critical. It's not really giving any. It's more of a joke, as you can see. Persuade dog owners to give up their dog and adopt cockroaches instead. Not quite. Suggests that cockroaches as pets require least effort from their owners. He is suggesting that, but that's not the purpose of this passage. The purpose of this passage really is to convince readers who are looking for a new pet to consider cockroaches. And although this is a joke, right? I think you can sort of guess that maybe what he's trying to say in like a deeper sense is he's actually listing out all of the issues that come with buying a pet, right? If you look at you have to go to the vet, you have to pay people to buy the pet, you have to take the pet on a walk, you have to spend all day inside the house, so do all of these different things. He's showing how time intensive these things are, and you probably already have cockroaches in your house. Why don't you just use them as your pet, right? So that's sort of the idea that he's getting across. Okay, let's move on to the proofreading. Question 14. Okay, so happiness is not in absence. So what we're doing here is spelling mistakes. Now, absence here is spelt wrong. If you look at question 15, financial knowledge is spelt wrong here. It should have a D. Question 16. So hospital admissions. Annually should have 2 L's here. Question 17. There is no issues there. Question 18. Deceivers should be EI. So it's I before E except after the C, right? Okay, question 19. Now it's on punctuation errors. So he tore him away from Paris should be capitalized here. Question 20. They should have a full stop right here. Question 21. There's no error here. Question 22. So they should have an apostrophe because it's the teams with a it's possessive. It's the teams, right? The team owns it. Okay, question 23. The government has decided to lift price ceilings on bread and bread milk. So bread milk is not what it's trying to say. It should be bread, milk, and others. So it's and other staples. It's a comma here. You need a comma here. So option C. Okay, question 24. Best word now. Can you see those builders over there? The hammer belongs to them because it's plural. Question 25. He skipped past the defender's despairing lunge. So So past here, the reason why it's not this one is because this is the past tense of pass. This isn't in past tense, he's just skipping past. Well, it is in past tense, but it's a different word right here. You're skipping past someone or you're going behind them, right? Pass means like to pass the ball, right? So that's a completely different word there. Okay, so question 26. Opportunity never knocks twice on any man's door. So if you're going to knock on something, it's going to be on. Question 27. Mary ate a whole pack of biscuits before dinner. So this is the correct whole. This one just means a hole, like a circular hole. Okay, verbal reasoning. 1. 4-letter hidden word. So what we have to do here is find a word that is hidden between two different words here. So if we look at right here, we've got rice, which is option B. For question 2, we've got sight right here. For question 3, we've got trip right here. For question 4, we've got sign, which is option C. Question 5, we've got seat. Question 6, we've got sour. Question 7, we've got coat. Question 8, we have got calf. Question 9, we've got step. Question 10, we have lane right there. Okay, verbal reasoning, find the 3-letter missing word. So with these ones, we have to put 3 letters into this word to make it make sense. So I walk to school, something, the weather. So this is probably going to be whatever the weather. So if you put 8 right there, whatever. For question 12, if we put not right here, it'll be Harriet wanted to bake another cake. Right? For question 13, if we put shallow, so if you put all into here, it'll be shallow. For question 14, if we put 10 into here, we'll get tentacles. Put it at the start, right? For question 15, if we put stoop, I had to stoop to pick up my pen. Question 16, it'll be friendly. So friend goes right here. For question 17, it will be pension. For question 18, it'll be harmony. So arm is right here. Question 19 is if you put I didn't know books they were, miss. So it'll be whose. I didn't know whose books they were. So you put who at the start. Question 20, you're going to put Eve into this word. The gems were taken by thieves. So you put I, there you go, thieves, so Eve go right here. Okay, final section now, verbal reasoning 3. Rearrange one letter to make 2 words, so that means we have to basically remove one letter from here and put it into here, and we should get 2 new words. So if we look at question 21, if we remove the I, we get tide, and if we put it into right here, we'll get the word spires. So if you spires is like, if you think about spires on a mountain, I think would be a good one. It's like these different like things at the top, like it's a weird shape. But it's probably best to Google what spires, and then you can see like an example of it. Question 22. If you move L, you'll get pace, and then if you put that L right here, you get blonde. Question 23. If you remove the B, you'll get rain. And if you put the B into here, you'll get fiber. Question 24. If you remove the G, you'll get rind, sorry. And if you put the G into here, you'll get began. Now, what does rind mean? It seems to mean the tough outer skin of certain fruit. So that's a tough one. If you go on to question 25, if you remove the L here, you'll get bend, and if you put the L in here, you'll get clamp. For question 26, if we remove the E here, we'll get cram. If we put the E into here, you'll get cheat. For question 27, it looks like, yeah, if you put the D into here, you'll get medal, and you also got bran, which is also a word. I believe it's a type of food. Yep, like wheat bran. Okay, and for question 28, if you remove the T, you get even. Now, if you put the T into here, you got litre, so like a litre of milk. Question 29, if you remove the C, you get fare. So if you think about a fare where you have to pay a fare, like it's like a price for a ticket. And if you put the C into here, you get patch. For question 30, if you remove the W, you get ring. And if you put that W right here, you get swell. Okay, that's the end of the verbal reasoning, and that's the end of mini mock 2.